What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I am your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub. On this week's show, we've got He Hate Me clothing line. We got news about Tim Tebow retiring. Do you think maybe he wants to hit the XFL? Plus, your fan control football week 2 recap and the interview of the year. Finn the dog is checking in. It took me a lot. I had to work with his agent to get him on the show. Threw a couple million Doge coins at him, and now he is all in. We'll get to Finn after the dog, after we get to the news first. I know you're looking forward to that. So how do you get in touch with the show? It's simple. Email podcast at XFL News Hub with your MP3s or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. And remember to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. We really appreciate that. And remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really need you to like and subscribe, put that notification on, so when new things come out, you are alerted and you're up to date on what's going on there. So first, let's take a little look at Fan Control Football this week. Congratulations to them for their second week. Not having anything too crazy. So the first game was the Beasts versus the Wild Aces. The final score was Beasts 30, Wild Aces 28. Beasts quarterback TJ Edwards II scored the game-winning touchdown on a mad scramble with time expiring to propel the Beasts to the 30-28 victory over the Aces. 38 total points were scored in a high-pace seesaw first half. That saw the Wild Aces take a 22-16 advantage. DeAndre Frenosis passed for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Raphael Leonard and Jeremiah Houston each caught touchdown passes for the Aces, who dropped their first game of the young season. Beasts QB and former XFLer Quentin Flowers was named Gatorade Player of the Game as he tossed 2 touchdowns and threw for 77 yards in the victory. Remember, they don't have a 100-yard field. DeAndre Francis threw for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Raphael Leonard each caught touchdowns passes for the Aces. We already got to that part. The 9:30 game, Glaciers Boys versus Zappers. The final score, 29-28. The Glacier Boys, first ever fan control football overtime game. Johnny Manziel netted a game-high 122 yards and 2 touchdowns and led the Zappers to an early 14-0 lead, but could not hang on. The Zappers led 22-8 at halftime before the Glacier Boys tied the games with 6:44 left after a fumble recovery and a 47-yard touchdown return by linebacker Frederick Conyers. Zappers' Travis Tavanian led all receivers with 28 yards and a touchdown catch, while Andrew Jamal caught a game-high 4 catches for 41 yards for the Glaciers Boys. The game headed to its first ever FCF overtime, with the Zappers struck first with rushing TB touchdown from SB Anthony Jones and a mixed extra point. The Glacier Boys scored on their first play in the extra frame when Quinn Porter rushed in from 10 yards out to tie the game. Andrew Jamal caught the game-winning extra point, and David Pindell to complete the comeback for their first win of the season. Up next week, Saturday the 27th at 8 p.m. on Twitch, you got Zappers 0-2 versus the Aces 1-1, and then at 9:30 you got the Glacier Boys 1-1 versus the Beasts 2-0. So that's a good matchup for your 9:30 Fan Control Football League. Didn't get a chance to watch it. I like the little recap there, but everybody's been saying that they like it. So if you're really itching for some football, download Twitch and you can check out the games. And it seems it's been kind of fun. Didn't check it out this weekend. I'm not sure I will next weekend either. We'll just have to see. Some other quick notes and news and tidbits before we get into the news and, of course, the major interview. I mean, it's basically The Rock, Danny Garcia, Finn. Which one of those, Finn the dog, which one of those would you want to interview on your podcast? It's between those 3. But we have some other alt football news, since there's nothing going on per se. MLFB gave us an update on their 2021 spring season. They put out a press release and discuss plans for a 6-team full season, beginning with a training camp and a minimum of 420 players. They went on to talk about, everything that's going on in the world. They are in their filing that they will continue to conceptualize a previous plan, but they're going to do a little bit more of a limited demonstration season for 2021. Decrease the number of games and teams. The plan will consist of a nationally televised games. Now, where that is, we don't know. Played in at least 3 of their cities, including a training camp and 3 to 4 weeks of play. The reason why is because, of course, they're worried about the safety of the players. It'll be very expensive to do this kind of thing with the costs. Is an enormous cost to, keep everybody healthy and safe. Quote, we feel the demonstration season format is both financially viable and affords us the best protection for our players, coaches, staff, and fans. Further details and dates are forthcoming, but we expect to execute a training camp and games later in the year. The conclusion of the demonstration season will remain July 2021. Finally, we are extremely grateful for the overwhelming support, dedication, so forth and so on. So it looks like July time, June, July, the Major League Football will try to do a season sometime this summer. So good luck to them. We'll see if they can kick this thing off. But we'll keep you updated on all these alt leagues, plus the CFL. We'll have all those kind of things. So we're going to get into the news this week, talking a little He Hate Me and Tim Tebow. Get into a little commercial break. And then we'll get Finn the dog in and your social media stuff right after this, my friends. Stay tuned. Well, it looks like the new owners of the XFL, Danny Garcia, Dwayne Johnson, and Redbird Capital, collectively known as Alpha Aquico, have filed to trademark the phrase made famous by the first iteration of the league, Rod Smart's He Hate Me. According to Josh Gerben, the XFL, now under ownership of The Rock, has filed a new trademark application for He Hate Me. The filing was made on February 10th and indicates the XFL plans to launch a clothing brand under the name? Really? Interesting. Of course, Rod Smart was the player who decided he wanted to put that on his jersey per the rules at the time of the XFL in 2001, and it immediately caught fire. Even when Smart made transition to the NFL, the name He Hate Me followed him there as well when he played for the Carolina Panthers. Per trademark attorney Josh Groban, Vince McMahon's second try at the league had also filed for the trademark, but it was set to be abandoned after the bankruptcy. The mission, it seems, is to have a clothing line with the phrase, taking full advantage of something that helped the original XFL become so well known. Interesting. In 2004, Smart himself had filed for the mark of the phrase, but it became abandoned in 2007. According to the United States Patent and Trademark Office, the XFL, under the WWE assessor name, applied for the mark in 2016 and had it assigned to Alpha Entertainment in 2018. In August of 2020, the Alpha transferred the assignment to the new owners, and since no statement of use was ever filed and Alpha had reached their limits, 5 of the extensions to file, a new filing for the mark was made on February 10th. Whether they use it and how they use it, it's still unknown, but it's still a relevant brand. And since it's associated with the XFL, it would make sense to continue to have that availability to do so if the opportunity presents itself. So we'll find out. Is this just going to be something that they would use on t-shirts, or are they actually thinking about making a brand name called He Hate Me? We'll just have to find out. With Tim Tebow retiring from baseball, could the XFL be in his future? Heisman quarterback Tim Tebow ended his baseball career this past week after 5 seasons in playing with the New York Mets farm system. He cut on with the Mets in 2016 and worked his way up from the instructional leagues to AAA ball. While there were highs like hitting a home run in his first at-bat and an all-star game appearance in AA Eastern League, he did struggle at times, and after moving up to AAA, that was basically it. Now, just days after he was invited to spring training with the Mets, Tebow has decided to retire, and it seems like he already has potential plans moving forward. Quote, I want to thank the Mets, Mr. Alderson, the fans, and all my teammates for the chance to be part of such a great organization. I loved every minute of this journey, but at this time, I feel called in other directions. Interesting. Now, for Tebow, this could mean a lot of different things. He's being called in other directions. Could mean he wants to devote even more of his time to philanthropy and other causes. He may be thinking forward to his public life as an author, a public speaker, maybe on television or something like that. It could also mean he's eyeing a return to football. Now, while Floridians might love to see a reunion with Urban Meyer in his hometown of Jacksonville, that would be interesting. If he chooses to return to the game of football, the XFL could be the most logical option. This isn't just grasping at straws either. 1 year ago, it broke that Tim Tebow hadn't been in touch with the XFL, and he praised the league's relaunch while affirming his commitment to baseball.
Did you hear from the XFL when they were starting up?
Yeah, there was some communication.
Were you not interested at all, or did you hear them out, or how did that go?
We had a couple conversations, but it was pretty clear that this was. I love what they're doing. I think it has a chance to have success, and I think that's great. And so I think there needs to be a place for a lot of players that are really good and should and could be playing in the NFL and are better than a lot of NFL players. So, and there's a chance they're going to be seen. So I think it's awesome, and I think it's good for a lot of guys that are going to get a spot in the NFL roster because they're going to show a team that they're worth it. But for me, this is what I wanted to do and pursue it and be all in and just, yeah.
Now that his time with the Mets is over, the question now has to be raised. Does Tim Tebow still want to play football? I don't know about you, but I saw a little fire in his eyes when he was talking about the gridiron. Maybe he wants to continue to maybe scratch that itch. At 33 years old is a fine age for a quarterback nowadays, as the bar has been pushed to 40, as we've seen in this past Super Bowl. He's got a very limited mileage on his body in terms of football, and while he's been out of the game for a good chunk of time, the XFL appearance would be a natural fit if he wants to pick it up again. While the timeline for getting the ball rolling for the XFL is in 2022, it isn't clear at this point. However, he would have nearly a full year to prepare for football if he does end up wanting to pursue the XFL. From a league perspective, this would be a huge signing in terms of name recognition and branding alone, as Tebow would have the best pedigree of an XFL quarterback since Tommy Maddox, and maybe that's ever in the XFL. Beyond that, Tebow could make a serious impact in the league. His improvisational, athletic style play could translate well in the XFL, and though through his passing game isn't quite the greatest, especially when he was in the NFL, that wasn't exactly his calling card. Let's not forget when he beat Troy Polamalu and Ike Taylor with his arm. So he could do it. Whatever lies in Tim Tebow's future, of course, we wish him nothing but the best. He is a great human being. Whatever you think about him, he is a good guy and does a lot of good things outside of the sporting world. But if his future is a stop in the XFL, that could be huge for its relaunch in 2022.
Here's what you missed on the XFL Markcast.
I have seen reports all week. The XFL website is updated. There's new stuff. I've seen it on message boards. I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen it on everything. The website is not new. Anyone that's listening to this, Paul, I know you probably check it like every other day like I do. I'm just letting you know. The big news came out this week that you can sign up for an email list to get info about tickets for future XFL games, and you can select one of the 8 cities. And so the thinking is, right, okay, all these cities, they're all coming back, whatever. This is not news. I filled this out back in August. There is nothing updated about this at all. I know other XFL podcasts have even done stories about this in the last month. This is not new at all, but I see it. The amount of traction that something like that gets astounds me.
I know what you're talking about, the Mandela Effect, with like Curious George, basically. That's like the big thing that people, did Curious George have a tail? Yes or no? And if you remember it one way, you are a victim of the Mandela Effect. If you remember it the other way, you actually remember reality.
Did he have a tail?
Nope.
Curious George didn't have a tail? My mind is blown.
He didn't have a tail, but you remember him having a tail.
When you say I did. Anyway, so I just saw that going around this week. I wanted to get that out of the way. It's not news. It's been that way. It doesn't mean they're going to do all the teams, any of that stuff. Paul, did you think that we would be talking about He Hate Me in 2021? Rod Smart.
Unless we were interviewing him, no.
Biggest news story of the week. He Hate Me trademark. Trademarked by the XFL.
Why isn't Rod Smart allowed to trademark that?
Well, so yes. Okay, so here, and this is a great question. So again, this all goes back to, what constitutes news, what's news. So if you go back and I did the research and people did the research, so this is not new at all. This is not a big deal. This is not a thing.
Of course, you could find XFL Markcast on XFL News Hub and wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube.
What's up, XFL Army? If you're a fan of the XFL News Hub and you have a telephone, which I know all of you do because you're sitting there playing on your phones all the time, then why not download the XFL News Hub app? That's right, it's on iTunes. It's on Android. We have an Android version and an iPhone version of the XFL News Hub app. So what do you get? You get the latest news from XFL News Hub, the premier source of XFL news in the universe. Plus, you get push notifications when we have breaking news. You will be the first to know. You can leave a comment on some of the news right from your phone. Plus, you get this podcast on your phone as well. Remember, you can leave us reviews on the Google Play Store or iTunes. It links to other social media, our other social media accounts, and so much more. Be in the know. I know you're on your phones. People are on their phones all the time. They never get off their phones. So why not just download the XFL News Hub app on your Android or iPhone today? All you need to do is go to the Google Play Store or iTunes and just type in XFL News Hub. That's XFL News Hub. Download our app on your phone today. All right, we are back on XFL News Hub. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an exclusive interview with Finn, the dog. Do you want to say anything? Yeah? You just want to lick my face? Do you have anything to say? What do you think about the new season of the XFL coming in 2021? Are you patient, impatient? You just want to lick my face? He's just licking my face if you're not watching the video. Do you have anything to say about, other than being interested in licking my face? He is a Boston Terrier. Do you have to say anything to say? Sniffing the microphone. Oh, okay. He's a Boston 8-month-old. He's Finn. And yeah, so what I thought is I'd interview him. He doesn't really have anything to say other than he wants to just lick my face and he's tired because he was taking a nap and I had to wake him. His agents were pissed. He was a little pissed, but I was able to get a treat, was able to coax him out of his nap, and now he's just hanging out. Do you have anything else to say? Okay, he's licking me again. Okay, I appreciate the licks, but we got a national show out here. So what's your favorite thing you're excited about for the new XFL? Anything? Nothing. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, so this is Finn, and he's a 8-month-old Boston Terrier puppy. When we have actual XFL coaches, I'm going to bring Finn on, and we'll see how bigger Finn is. So this is how big he is now. So you can see, that's it. This is how big he is. He's a big boy, 8-month-old. He doesn't really care. When we get coaches in the XFL announced, I'm going to bring him back on, and let's see how bigger he is. He's 8-month-old now. He's 14 pounds, and I'll bring him back on when XFL coaches are announced. When we have all 8 coaches in the XFL, we'll bring him on. Okay? Do you have anything else to say, pup? Other than you just want to go back to bed? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, he's tired, and he's going to go take another nap. All right, pup. I'll see you later. Thanks for coming on the show. Okay? Anything else? Nope. He just wants to take a nap. All right, peace. And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, back to his bed. And that's it. So there you have Finn the dog checking in. So he will check in again once there is all coaches are announced. And he's 8 months old. So we'll see how much bigger he is when the coaches are announced. So now what are you looking forward to most? the XFL coaches being announced or to see how big her fin is. Supposedly, Boston Terriers can get up to 30 pounds, and he's 14 pounds at 8 months. So it'd be interesting to see him. He's just staring at me on the floor like, dude, you woke me up for this garbage? You kidding me? How big he will be. That's how big they can get. So I'll be curious to see. I think he's more on the runt side of the crew. But there you have it, your exclusive Finn interview here on XFL News Hub. He will return once the XFL announces all of its coaches. All right. Now let's get into the more serious business than Finn the dog let's get to your social media stuff. First up, let's get to our Facebook stuff on last week's podcast. Zach says, do you think it is necessary to fill out the new tickets page at the website if you're still getting emails from the league? Because I'm still on the list. The last email I got was on December 15th saying if you ordered anything on the XFL shop, Christmas determined, blah, blah, blah. P.S. Do you think we will be seeing any XFL-related commercials during the premiere of Young Rock? No, we didn't see anything. I would still sign up for those emails from the league just to be safe because you never know. They're on different lists. So, something like Shopify probably runs the XFL's shop, and that's a separate email list. So you just want to be on this new email list. Who knows what's changed hands? So if you're going to get tickets, I would definitely just sign up. But that's a good question. On the He Hate Me stuff, Zach also says, how about instead of trademarking pretty gimmicky things from 2021, we get some news about how the XFL business model works and the budget that they have set going in for until 2022. And it says that no one has been working harder than them or outwork them. Well, the league is set to start in 2022. We better get going because no news, at least to my knowledge, has come out from where is the proof. And Steven says, haven't heard, nada, season is around the corner. Yeah, so fans are getting a little restless when it comes to the XFL news. I don't blame you there. About Jaguars got some former New York Guardians director of player personnel joined the Jaguars as their director of roster management. Roman says, I only read about an XFL staff got hired somewhere else. How about the XFL hiring staff, players, coaches, etc.? Who will be replacing Hamilton as the coach in the DC Defenders? I don't know. I would like to know all these things too. I think something is coming soon. Again, they're coming out of bankruptcy. What we're seeing, though, with some of the bankruptcy things is, settling and all this other kind of stuff. So they are spending money, and I think it's related to closing out this whole bankruptcy thing. So I wonder if that's kind of gumming up the system a little bit before we can actually get to some big XFL news. But, we're just going to have to continue to wait. And, I have a cat and another dog. We have some turtles in the house I could potentially interview if you feel so inclined to. We could do that. Former head coach June Jones said he would pass on Trevor Lawrence in the NFL draft. Zachary says, everything Jones says in this take I completely agree with. Yeah, it's a very interesting take. It's from the New York Post. Sawyer says, possible 2022. Oh, man, he's just got all this schedule laid out. He's got Dallas at Houston, LA at Dallas. I don't even know what the schedule is because it's all, you got Dallas twice. Oh, that's week one. Okay, week one, Dallas at Houston, Seattle at Los Angeles, DC at Tampa, St. Louis at New York. Maybe because you had a Houston home game, LA, Tampa, and New York your first week? No, I wouldn't do any of that. And he's got a bunch of other schedule stuff, so I appreciate that. But no, I'm not sure I'm down with that schedule. Houston, LA, Tampa, and New York, all home games the first season when it kicks off again? No. About Tim Tebow retiring from baseball, Zach says Tim Tebow in the XFL is not going to happen. I believe he is too old and too out of football shape to play. We all know he isn't going to be like Tom Brady and want to play forever. College with the University of Florida. He was great, but in the NFL, he kind of sucked. I believe if he were taken on by the XFL, it would just have been a second Jonathan Football Manziel on our hands. It might work, but I'm not gaining my hopes up at all. Scott says The Rock is a go big, go home, quote unquote, type of guy. I could see him wanting to bring a big name like Tebow to add excitement and free publicity for the XFL. Also, as an article indicates, he would have almost a year to do football training while he's still in great shape. Training for football is different than training for and playing baseball. He could have realized the baseball thing had gone too far as it could and wanted to get back into football one more chance before it gets too old. I figure he means he's referencing all his broadcast career when he says he's being pulled toward other things. We'll see. Okay, apparently I have a guest. Come here. Come here, pup. I'm getting scratched at while I am reading these things, so I think Finn is just going to hang out as we continue on this thing, and he's just going to lay in my lap because, I mean, we did pay for his time. So he's back on. He was scratching me while I'm trying to read this. Now he's licking my face. Okay. Kylie says, hope he's on the Wildcats. We could use a QB who has a big game experience and hard to bring down in the red zone. True. Enrico says the league will need to get pretty creative with their new business model to make it happen. Third time's a charm. I agree with that too. Javier says he would be great in the XFL. Kane says, hope he goes to the XFL. I do too. Dennis says, I hope he tries. It'll be good publicity. Scott, why try to drum up interest in a fake story? There is no story here. Okay. No, and Joseph says, no, like not at all. No. Okay. You have it there as well. Let's go to, how about our friends on the YouTube channel? We'll see what they have to say. Finn is sitting on my lap and licking his paws. There you go. He's very excited. Let's see here. Cardman says, congrats to Taylor. Talking about Taylor Heineke. Paladin says, you can interview me and we can get into the finer points of Blood Bowl. Don't mind waiting until after the pet interview. I am aware that I haven't done my project checks in this week. There's a couple reasons. Preparing for an interactive poll on who will be the Blood Bowl version of Phil Rivers and did very minor details on 3 players, so it wasn't worth noting. Stay tuned. We do have some of his stuff in there. We got past our Finn the Dog interview. We got to see how the numbers are. We have to see how the number. What do you think, Pup? We have to see how the ratings are going to be before we can decide if we're going to have any other special guests like Finn the Dog, as he continues to just sit here wanting me to play with him. Okay, let's see. Brandon says, do y'all think the FCF will take away all the good players from the XFL? Do you think the XFL will take away all the good players from the CFC? I'm not really worried about them. If anything, you're going to do with the fan control football is anybody's going to want to play with the XFL over fan control football. I'm wondering what the fan control football is going to do once the XFL is around. There's still going to be guys that will be interested in playing, but who is going to watch fan control football if there's XFL games going on? I mean, I certainly wouldn't. Would you? What about you, Finn? Would you watch fan control? No? All right. On to the next. He says no as well. Little Billy Custom says, if that is the type of stuff they're concentrating on, then they're doomed. Talking about the he hate me stuff. Washington Red Tails Nation, bring back the Birmingham Bolts. It be like our Lou Bolts pending move from LA. Okay. Paladin says, nothing but radio silence. Now we get another trademark shenanigans. Come on, Danny and Dwayne. Kind of agree there. I mean, this was already kind of in the works. It wasn't something new per se. Tyrone says, thoughts on NGL, a.k.a. National Gridiron League. Isaiah says, also your opinion on startup leagues and their uniforms like 2021, XFL, UFL, AAF, XFL would be dope. Not a bad video idea, at least think so anyway. Actually, I like the idea about the uniforms thing and maybe taking a look back at the XFL uniforms and the AAF uniform. I mean, the AAF, they were the garbage uniforms. I don't know anything about the National Gridiron League. I haven't seen anything about that. If anything comes across my desk, I will let you know. Appreciate the messages there. Mega J51, this is good, but why? Talking about he hate me stuff. I wonder if Josh Gerben might have read into it. Maybe they just want to use he hate me on like a jersey. I don't know if it's its own clothing line. That's why I'm like, it's an interesting idea, one that I would buy. I'm just not sure if it's really for a closing line more than just closing a loop of the past that was going to be closed, but then everything happened. Isaiah, your thoughts on MLFB purchasing the AAF gear? Also, do you remember the UFL because their equipment and uniforms are locked up in storage somewhere? There's a video here on YouTube. Search UFL. Yeah, we reported on when they purchased all the former AAF gear, and we were like, who are these people? And it's still being locked in a closet somewhere, not being used, and we'll see if it even sees the light of day this summer. Do you think so, Pop? Okay. Tyrone says, good for Rod Smart and his He Hate Me brand. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't try to lock that thing in. Obi-Wan Kenobi, keep Seattle and St. Louis, talking about relocation. I think all the teams are staying put. Mr. MP3, I've got an idea. 3 divisions, 12 teams. Okay. And this is all about relocation in the XFL. Division 1, Houston Roughnecks, Battlehawks, Kansas City Twisters, LA Wildcats. Division 2, DC Defenders, New York Guardians, Virginia Patriots, and Tampa Bay Vipers. Division 3, Renegades, Dragons, Brooklyn Boilers, North Carolina Pilots. So you're going to put 2 teams in New York? North Carolina, Kansas, I think Birmingham, Orlando, and a lot of other places, Chicago, would want a team more than those. But okay, if you're going to do a little expansion, that might be interesting. Do you agree, Finn? You just want to go back to sleep. Okay. On to, let's see here. Give Me Abundance. Can't wait for Frank Murtha to release the team uniforms helmets to us patiently waiting for MLFB fans. True. I'm interested in that too. I'm curious to see what they're going to come out with. Hopefully it's creative and not bland like the AAFs, but I agree with you there. Mutuvo TV, the XFL needs to do whatever is the most fiscally responsible at this point. Does it cost more to try and defend the H logo in court or just create and register a new one? I agree with you. I'm like, if this is really going to come down to some big numbers or whatever, I'd be like, please. If anything, I would have a problem with the companies that approved it, because clearly this would have passed all sorts of kind of issues when it comes to legal stuff if they thought that they were going to get in trouble for having this logo. I mean, I got my DC Defenders gear on. I got my DC Defenders sweatshirt. I mean, you could have easily made something and said, all right, we're good. We're not going to get in trouble for this. This one was pushing the envelope a little bit. Everybody, as soon as it came out, was like, hey, this looks kind of similar. Clearly, with all the money that was spent legally, they would have known that things would have been all right. But it's a good point. I would not put up a big fight about it at all. All right, on to the Twitters. We have here, about Danny Garcia tweeted out, I could smell the fresh from here. Young Rock, which I haven't checked out yet, I will. This is officially certified fresh. They gave it a 91 on the tomato meter. And I always check Rotten Tomato for any kind of, when I'm going to pick a movie or something to watch. I always do. I feel like the public gets it kind of right. Richard O For Real says, I really like Young Rock, but when are we going to get up to date about the XFL? Like what network will it be shown the games on, what coach is coming, etc. As a fan, we like to know, bring the beer snake back. I don't know if we'll ever see in a post you-know-what world, we will see the beer snake again. That's like you-know-what fest in a cup. All that getting passed around. But hey, man, maybe not now, maybe, but at some, I don't think that first year they're gonna let that happen when we return, even in 2022, a year from now. I just don't see it. What do you think, Finn? What do you want a beer snake or something? You don't drink beer, do you? You're a little young. You're only 8 months old. You're not allowed to have beer. I'm almost done. All right. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Do you want to leave? Hold on. Say goodbye. He's gonna go. He wants to lay in his somewhere. He's done. He was scratching at me. Now he's done. All right, on to the trademark with He Hate Me. MIG21BIS Fishbed, interesting name. Provided Rod Smart gets some dough his way, this would be awesome. I agree with that. If they do make this as a clothing line, you have to, I don't know what's going on with Rod Smart, but you'd be like, hey, we'll give you like a certain percentage or something, like even if it's like 1% or 2%, just something for his family. It would be the right thing to do, because as soon as you found out that the XFL wasn't doing it and that would be bad press for you guys. So you definitely have to, if you're going to do something with him, you definitely need to involve him. And it'd be really intriguing to me if the XFL is going to embrace the old version. I think Oliver Luck and Vince McMahon wanted to get away from that earlier 2001 version of the XFL. If this comes back, I would be very kind of cool to recognize guys like Tommy Maddox and Rod Smart. Why not? Like, who cares? What is it going to hurt your brand by having them on? We all know it was there. We all know that there was a 2001 XFL, so don't pretend like it didn't happen. We also know that there's a 2000 XFL as well. Right, Finn? You weren't alive then. We all knew it was there, so I hope that they just don't try to play like it never happened and don't mention PJ Walker or Cam Phillips or Josh Johnson or, Landry Jones or any of the records that were in there before, because that would be silly. That would be silly. The dog is now scratching at me again. Would you like to come up again? All right. Come here. All right. He has returned. On to Tim Tebow retires from baseball. Could an XFL be in his future? Go Dogs, 640154451. This is probably Finn's favorite fan. He says he draws more eyeballs than Johnny and would do well here, but maybe he goes to Jacksonville and has a reunion with Urban Meyer. I don't know. I don't think he's going back in the NFL. Yeah, the pup is sitting here. But he's definitely a big fan of Go Dogs. He just told me that's his favorite XFL New Sub fan is Go Dogs, and everybody else is cats to him. That's what he says. Jeremy on the Volgavolt Burt 16. I doubt it, since they tried to sign him last year and he wasn't interested in playing football anymore. So that's the likely scenario. Plus, we need to give these under-the-radar QBs a chance than well-known QBs. How about with Tim Tebow? What would be interesting is maybe not even bringing him in per se as a player. We'll bring him in as a coach or somebody on, in the broadcast booth or like a pre-show. I mean, you could bring him in for something like that, or maybe make him a player coach. Do you be like, hey, are you interested in coaching football? Like, in the next 10 years, what if you're a player coach or something like that on the team? I mean, that would be kind of interesting. And let's see what else. Oh, based on our intro of the show about missing some XFL this weekend with that kickoff, the famous kickoff with the New York Guardians and St. Louis Battlehawks. It's me, Pocono Pate. Rewatch the first season, 4 games per weekend, so I don't feel as lost. Oh my. I did see Fox Sports 1, 2, Sports something had XFL game on at like 3 o'clock in the morning, I think, this week. And I saw something about that. I think it was Fox Sports 2 or I don't know. All right, on to our social media stuff. Let's get to some emails. Dear Mark, I'm a fan of the XFL and I'm glad it's coming back in 2022. Will all teams return? Do you see LA, Tampa maybe moving to different cities because of the poor attendance? When will the 2020 schedule come out? Matt, checking in. Matt, thanks for the email. We haven't heard anything. I assume 100% that all the teams will return. I assume that they will all stay in the same cities. There's no need to maybe switch things around. Maybe LA goes to like San Diego or some other stadium. Other than that, I just don't think now, I mean, we're in February. So we are having a year from now, if we go by the same timeline, already having another season. Are you telling me you're going to want to switch a city right now? I mean, you technically you could have when the XFL, if the XFL finished in April and May, you switch cities, June, you could have done that. But everything is just so up in the air at this point. Maybe they have it all planned out and they're just going to do one big launch of stuff and we'll find out there. But so far, I think every city will stay, and we don't have a schedule. We don't have anything, and nothing is coming out until we hear about it. I think there's two things that we're going to hear about in the next several months. First is going to be the new CFO, who is the chief football officer. That's the first thing you need to do. Then we'll hear about a TV contract. After that, it's because if they don't get a TV contract that they want, then I don't think the XFL is going to happen. They're not going to play a season where like Vince McMahon set up with Oliver Luck, where they're not going to get any money. They are not going to do this for free and, cover the production costs, blah, 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 which if they're looking for some big mega contract from somewhere, I mean, you can get something, I assume. But I'd be curious what numbers they're looking for and who is really interested in paying them. Jack Stevens says, hey, Mark, you should make a newsletter. A newsletter, I mean, I guess we could. I don't know what would be in the newsletter. Insider stuff. Maybe when things get closer, maybe we do a newsletter. He's mentioned Patreon, too. What exclusive things, cool things? I mean, aside from exclusive meet and greets with Finn the dog on your Patreon, what else would you want? Maybe just hang out with the writers and we talk stuff or something. I think I could sell it. The Finn exclusive one-on-one chat on Patreon. What do you think? He's just staring at the camera. I don't think he wants to do it. Unless you got a dog name in your Twitter handle or something. That's it. Finally, Paladin Dome. He says, here's current progress of some teams, starting with a poll. The candidates for my next team name players: Phil Rivers, first is a goblin, second is an orc. Everyone can decide, one per vote. Painted the ropes and hay on the Chiefs project, and very minor details on the Chargers, just covering the open mouths. Very cool. Some more pictures that he sent, and you can check those things out on the YouTube channel as well. So we appreciate Paladin Dome checking that out. And that's it for this week's show. We made a show with just me and my dog. What do you think, Pup? If you want to be part of the show, email podcast@XFL News Hub with your MP3s or videos, or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Remember to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. And like and to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so that you can see Finn the dog when they announce the coaches. And we'll see how big Finn the dog is. He is 8 months old, 14 pounds, and we will see how big he is when we get to announcing coaches in the XFL. That's what we got going on this week. Remember, you can download our iPhone app and Android stuff. You can listen to us anywhere on podcasts. For show notes, go to xflnewshub.com/xfl-podcast and join us on the Discord. The AEW Fantasy Wrestling is going well. I've got some other project I'm playing around with, and I'll probably talk about that later. Where are you going, Pop? Are you ready to leave? Well, we're gonna sign out. Okay. He's just sitting on my back here. So he's ready to go. I need to give him a treat. He's been a good dog. Part of his contract, part of his agreement. And that's it for us, folks. And me and Finn, we will see. We'll do the catchphrase together. Okay, ready? We will see you all later.